Just a quick one today, because I suppose we should be celebrating. You know what came out of the president's mouth while he gave his coronavirus task force press conference the other night?
PEPFAR.
Did you say PEPFAR, Mr. President? What I wouldn't have given to see Deborah Birx's face when he said that, because it just came out of the blue. I don't think there was any context. He just all of a sudden said PEPFAR. Was really weird. So we should be celebrating because now that's in the public attention. But I'm not overjoyed with what I heard from him. Here's the rest of what President Trump said about PEPFAR.
PEPFAR, we're spending the United States, with that help to the best of my knowledge, mostly in Africa, $6 billion a year. And that's on AIDS. What we've done for AIDS in Africa is unbelievable. We spend $6 billion a year. That's been going on for a long time. Nobody knows that. You've never heard that. I've never heard that. $6 billion a year. Millions of people are living right now and living very comfortably because of the fact that we have found the answer to that horrible, horrible plague. That was a plague. But we spend $6 billion a year. And from what I hear, it's very well spent, done by professionals, including this great professional right here. That was the thing that you worked hardest on and something that was very close to her heart. So it's, it's something that I think people should start hearing.
Money spent well, handled by professionals? Maybe he doesn't mean that. Maybe he's just trying to get public attention on PEPFAR. Well, I'm glad that he is because people do need to familiarize themselves with it. I think it's really interesting that he said, "You've never heard of that, have you?" or something. Most people haven't. Most people have not heard of PEPFAR unless you follow me and have watched my last few videos, these ones in particular. Starting back here a month ago, I began to talk about PEPFAR and Deborah Birx's role in that. And then I found some more connections to PEPFAR and more connections to PEPFAR. By the end, the graphic that I always use looked like this, and this is not even a complete picture. So this whole PEPFAR story, it's a volcano. It's sitting there right under the surface and it's going to come out. And I highly recommend you watch my videos so that you can see the twists and turns, just the overview of the twists and turns of this particular agency. I am not happy that President Trump appears to think the money was well spent, appears to think they somehow solved AIDS. That's crazy. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. We'll see why he said that, and we'll see what the attention that that statement brings. We'll see where that takes the world. Will people bring pressure to investigate this agency? Will people find out some of the things I found out in my research? I don't know. Maybe. One thing I haven't covered because I discovered this after my last video on PEPFAR is this. PEPFAR circumcision scandal explained by Brendan Marotta. Brendan Marotta made a documentary called American Circumcision, and in that documentary, he was led to PEPFAR because they do tons, like tens of millions of circumcisions in Africa under the auspices of fighting HIV/AIDS. And it's a pretty shocking story. So I'll leave a link to this YouTube video in the description box for you. It's really horrible. This organization is very bad. So it is a tangled web. Right. So I recommend this. I recommend these if you haven't seen them. And I recommend Corey's Digs to get you up to date on PEPFAR. That's not the only thing. But, Bush. Sorry, I apologize. That's not the only thing Trump talked about at his presser the other day. There's a little bit more, and this is a little bit more hopeful. Listen to this part.
In a much greater way, we're doing some research on certain people that take a lot of credit for what they do. And NIH is giving away a lot of money. We give away for years, for many years, they give away a lot of money. And some people complain and some people don't. Some people are extremely happy. So we're looking into that also. They're giving away approximately, as I understand it, recently more than $32 billion a year. $32 billion. And so we've been looking at that for a while, and we're going to be having some statements to be made about that. $32 billion a year. It's a lot of money, and we want to make sure it's being spent wisely, and we've been doing that, by the way, and we'll have some statements on that. And those are much bigger numbers than what we're talking about with national. If you look at, with our friends from wherever they come from, 500 million is a lot of money, but it's not a lot compared to the kind of money that we give out. I think over the years, it's been averaging about $32 billion. $32 billion. So we've had our eye on that one for a while. We also talked about the lab in China, where I guess 3.7 million was given some time ago. And we're looking at that very closely. Chief of Staff has that pretty much under control. But it's money that, too bad it got spent there. But that was spent, what year was that, Mark? It was 4 or 5 years ago.
Over the last 6 years.
6 years ago, approximately. So we're looking at that. And that's the lab that people are talking about.
All right, so it looks like they are indeed investigating the money that the National Institute of Health has overseen for how many years? $32 billion a year it gives out, as he mentioned. I mean, think of what that money could do in America if they used it differently, especially when you consider the last thing Trump said there. He beat around the bush a little bit, but what he was talking about, the certain lab in the certain country that NIH gave money to, is this one. It was the Wuhan lab, the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Shocking. U.S. government gave $3.7 million grant to Wuhan lab accused of being the source of coronavirus outbreak. U.S. Congressman Matt Gaetz said, "I'm disgusted to learn that for years the U.S. government has been funding dangerous and cruel animal experiments at the Wuhan Institute, which may have contributed to the global spread of coronavirus, and research at other labs in China that have virtually no oversight from U.S. authorities." Boom! And it looks like, from what Trump said, it looks like this investigation may have been underway for a little while. Watch this part again.
We also talked about the lab in China, where I guess 3.7 million was given some time ago. And we're looking at that very closely. Chief of Staff has that pretty much under control.
Man, imagine being Anthony Fauci, and he's just mentioned PEPFAR, and he's just mentioned the NIH budget, and he's just mentioned almost the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And he said they've been looking at it for a while. So all this time, when I'm panicking because Trump has Birx and Fauci up on that podium, and people kept saying to me, keep your enemies close, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. And I told people I would start blocking them if they said that anymore. Maybe they were right. Maybe they were right, but I have to defend myself here. Because look at how far things have gone. This is totally outrageous. The social and economic damage the coronavirus response has done. To have kept those people there for that long, why? I can only think that he did not, in fact, have this information the whole time that those two have been at the head of the coronavirus task force. I really hope not. Because if he brought them in and let them run this program on us this far, and the United States response is often something that other countries will replicate, or at least they have to respond to, like my country, Canada. We're joined at the hip. So it's affected a lot of the world. The fact that these two, I would call them I would say that they are probably criminals, Deborah Birx and Anthony Fauci. I resent every day of this lockdown. I resent every bout of anxiety that anybody has had over this. I resent the fake news running amok. And I do resent having to listen to these two con artists talk down to us and double talk and word salad us to death and vocal fry us to death and granular us to death every night, keeping us on pins and needles as they make no sense. But I'm not going to dwell on that. I am going to hope that this is a good sign that President Trump has just blurted out of nowhere, PEPFAR. And that he says there's been an investigation ongoing into the money spent by NIH. Fingers crossed. I really, really hope this is going somewhere good. This story might just be the tip of the iceberg. How far does this go? How closely related are the NIH and this Wuhan virology lab? And does this Charles Lieber, this Harvard scientist was working for the Chinese government secretly, does he tie into this at all? I don't know. It's all still just coming out. Thanks to so many citizen journalists, thanks to all the people online and out in the real world spreading the message of truth and fearlessness and common sense, I do think more people are waking up than ever. I just hope that we can push this back. Because wait till you see the videos I'm working on. Microsoft and Bill Gates are up to some very creepy fourth industrial revolution type stuff. And yeah, the next video is going to be fun. We're going to go into Microsoft's hiring of Marina Abramovich and what happened from there. I'm going to tell you who Marina Abramovich is. I'm going to show you all these really dark, twisted people that are all connected to these NGOs and to Bill Gates and to each other. All right, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm going to stop talking now. References in the description box. If you'd like to support my work, I have a paypal.me address and I have a snail mail address, both available down on the pinned tweet. And I will talk to you again soon. Peace out.